Hey everybody, how's it going? Can you see me behind this mountain of stuff here? Give me a minute, I'll get some of it put away. Or at least out of your way so you can see me. How's everybody doing today? I hope well. I have some notes that I took for today, and I have some coffee. So let's get this started. I've been seeing a lot of videos online with people talking about bugging out, or if there's a situation where you have to leave, and we've all seen those videos. I think the one thing that a lot of videos or guys out there or girls talk about is the amount of stuff and the weight that you have to carry. So, or at least the weight that people are proposing they're going to carry. Let me put it that way because it's far more accurate. I've broken all this down. Let's run through the list. I don't have everything here or weighed that one would need. This is merely just a 3-day emergency bag, and you've seen me go through that. That bag could be, this bag, my personal bag, could be utilized for more than just 3 days, because I have a few upgraded things in there, like my sleep system, my shelter system. It's more than just an overnight or a couple of nights setup. What limits me to 3, maybe as much as 5 days, is the amount of food that I have, that I'm capable of carrying in this bag. I have 3 days worth of food. I could probably stretch it to 5 if I had to, but we'll just say 3 days worth of food. If you're going to bug out or leave your current location to head for what you feel is a safer location, and for the record, I'm just going to grab my bag and head out into the wilderness, not the best idea. Unless you're extremely experienced at wilderness survival, you're probably going to struggle, possibly even die. So today I just want to talk about the whole mindset of everybody wanting to bug out. And as you see, I'm prepared if I had to. This is not the only gear that I would choose to take. But for now, let's just talk about this gear. We'll talk about the bag, and we'll talk about the battle belt, and a chest rig, and a rifle, and a pistol. I don't know if you can see it, but there is a pistol here. And some extra ammo. So that's all we're carrying today, is our emergency bag with our belt, which has a leg holster for our sidearm, because if we're bugging out, there's no reason to have our concealed carry holster or apparatus, whether it's a belly band or a holster or the shoulder. The belt, which, as you can see, I've removed a lot of the extras just to shave down some weight, because some of it can carry in the chest rig. The chest rig is carrying 6 fully loaded AR magazines, 6 fully loaded pistol magazines. There's also a magazine in the pistol and a magazine in the rifle, as you can see. So let's get this stuff out of the way, and we'll talk about these weights and how people perceive. We're going to leave this ammo out so you can see it. So we have our 3-day bag, and we have our guns. First, let me say that I think everybody in the country should be trained and taught responsible ownership of firearms, because it's our constitutional right, and that's how I feel about that. This video is not so much for us to discuss how I feel about the certain subject. This video is merely to look at, you see all these videos where people talk about, I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to grab this. I've limited what I could grab here to just the 3-day bag and the firearms and the ammunition. And it's going to extremely surprise you how much weight that is actually going to put on my body for me to bug out. Now, let's talk about the bug out thing for a minute. I hope everyone's had their coffee today. I'm having mine now. When people say I'm going to throw a bag on, there is a ton of different weights or types of bags. If you look into the community of the ultralight thru hikers, they're looking at under 10 pounds. Now they resupply every 3 to 5 days because they're not carrying that much stuff. If you're going to be bugging out, the chances of you resupplying are slim unless you've set that up in advance and you have a place to get resupplied at so you can continue. But let's say, for all intents and purposes, that you don't have a resupply set up, that where you're getting to is several miles away, and that's where you're planning to get to. You have your navigation, you know how you're going to get there, and now that crap has hit the fan, you're going to throw on your pack and you're going to grab your gun and you're going to head there. Exactly how much weight are we talking here? Now, the bag, if you watched the previous video, this is the summer pack of this bag, which I pulled out some of the wintertime items. So if this scenario were to happen in the wintertime, that's going to increase the weight of what I have here. This bag being packed for summer is down to 27 pounds. Where's my pen? Let's write that down. 27 pounds. And that's just the bag. If I choose to put a little more food in there, it's going to increase the weight a little bit. But the bag pretty much has everything I need. It has my water filtration. It has my shelter. It has extra clothes. It has food. Everything that I would need, with the exception of self-defense, which that's where the belt and the harness come in, as well as, ammunition and firearms. Now, the belt, and it fully loaded as it was, not a lot of extra stuff clamped on or mounted on it, just the belt itself with the leg rig and the rifle and all of the magazines weighed in at 24.8 pounds. So we're talking 25 pounds. The bag, as you remember, was 27 pounds. I don't need the calculator to do that. That's 52 pounds without any extra food. And if you remember, when I weighed this bag, the water bottles were empty. There's 2 1-liter bottles, which are going to add some weight to the overall weight. We're already at 52 pounds. We are not carrying any extra ammo. With the extra weight of the water and maybe a little bit of extra food, and we'll talk about the weight of the ammo because this will actually surprise you. This is a 100-round box of 9mm, simple 115 grain full metal jacket. Some of the heavier bullet weights like 124, 125 grain, 147 grain, they're obviously going to weigh a little bit more. I grabbed this because it was quick on the front of the shelf and I could throw it on the scale. And this box of 100 rounds of 115 grain target ammo weighed in at 2 pounds, 11 ounces. And that's only for 100 rounds. This is 68 grain 223. This is also 100 rounds. And this weighed in at 2 pounds, 14 ounces. So if we were to carry an additional 300 rounds of ammo, that works out to be just under 17 pounds if I was to choose to carry 300 rounds of 223 and 300 rounds of 9mm. So that would give me a boatload of ammo because I have 7 magazines total, which are high capacity. The 223 mags are 30 rounds. They're P mags. And the pistol mags are 15 rounds. And there's 6 of those. Or 7 of those. So that gives me a boatload of ammo. But let's look at the weight. And we're definitely going to need the calculator for this one. We were at 52 pounds for our bag and our gear, plus 17 pounds for the additional 300 rounds of ammo, which brings us to 69 pounds. If we're carrying just a gallon of water, that's just under 10 pounds. That's 80 pounds of weight. 80 pounds just for this little bit of stuff. Now, the majority of people, now I'm not going to include people that do a lot of hiking or do a lot of training. I'm just talking about an average walking pace on trail is 2 to 2.5 miles per hour. That's not carrying 80 pounds. So you have to really think about this, that if you were going to bug out and you had to take what you could carry with you, how easily what you're carrying could add up to an extreme amount of weight. This right here, plus additional ammo and water, would equal about 80 pounds. And how far is one going to actually get, or how much of that distance are they going to travel within a day carrying that much weight? If a thru hiker carrying 20 to 30 pounds can average 10 to 20 miles per day on one of the longer trails like the Appalachian Trail or the Pacific Crest Trail or the Continental Divide Trail, most of those hikers are carrying right around 20 pounds, some a little more, some a little less, not including the ultralight backpackers, just the average backpacker. And 10 to 20 miles is a pretty good day on the trail. They don't do that every day. They stop every few days to resupply. They also have 0 days where they rest their body. Now, there is a lot of gear that I don't have with this setup. So if I were to add more food, that's going to add more weight. If I say I'm not going to add any more food, I'm just going to harvest my food along the way. I do have a firearm. I could harvest an animal, but a human being tromping through the woods, and any experienced hunter will tell you that they'll hear you coming a mile away and avoid you like the plague. That's just how animals are. So the chances of just being able to put all this weight on your body, making all that noise, plus your scent, because you're sweating, so your scent is getting out there, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to see too many animals, which is going to make procuring any type of food source extremely difficult. Now, you can say, well, there's water sources along the way. Well, I don't have a fishing rod set up in here. So if I was to add a fishing rod to this setup, that's going to add even more weight. And then I have a better chance of procuring some food, being able to fish if there's sources along the way, which generally in most places in the country you have that, with the exception of like the Southwest. So that's a lot to think about. Carrying all this weight, how far are you really going to go? And is it possible to trim some of this down? Do you need all that firepower? Do you need all this gear? That's a question for everyone to answer for themselves. But I know I watch a ton of videos where people load themselves up with all this stuff and they get it on their body, but they really don't go far with it. And that's what you have to focus on, because if you're going to choose to bug out and leave your location, you have to make sure you can get to where you're going. And if you can't get to where you're going because you're carrying too much weight, that's just going to cause your situation to go from bad to worse. So I hope everybody learned something, or at least put a thought in your head regarding, this whole bug out situation. And for now, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.